Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei has been eliminated. After US and Israel put out explosive claims, now there is an official confirmation from Iran. A 40-day public mourning has been announced. Khamenei was killed in Israel and the US strikes launched in the heart of Tehran on Saturday. While US President claims that now Iran has a chance at diplomacy, he claimed it is easier now for a diplomatic solution than it was a day earlier, but Iran, on the other hand, has vowed to retaliate strongly. And it has. Iran has actually started the sixth wave of attack. But it wasn't just Khamenei who was eliminated. The IDF has confirmed the killing of several members of the Iran security leadership, including top defense officials like Ali Khamenei and the commander of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. Let me take you through the people who have been killed by the American and Israeli forces. Ali Khamenei, a former IRGC Navy chief, an Iranian army chief, and a top advisor to Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, he has been killed. Mohammad Pakpor, the commander of the IRGC, the IDF claims Pakpor was responsible for missile and drone attacks on Israel. Salah Asadi, the chief of the intelligence in Iran's military emergency headquarters and the senior intelligence officer of Iran's armed forces general staff. Mohammad Shirazi, the chief of Khamenei's military bureau since 1989. Aziz Nasir Zadeh, Iran's Minister of Defense and a former chief of the Iranian Air Force and a deputy chief of staff. Hussein Jawad Amilian, chairman of the SPND, a research and development agency of Iran's Ministry of Defense. Reza Muzaffari Nia, former chairman of SPND. Let me play out the bite of the IDF leader also.
Today, we launched Operation Roaring Lion, an operation against the Iranian terrorist regime in full cooperation with the U.S. Armed Forces. This is an operation against the world's largest sponsor of terror, a regime that for years has called death to Israel, death to America, death to the West. We listened to their words carefully. We watched their actions, and today we acted. We acted because we had to. We launched this operation by seizing an operational opportunity, conducting coordinated strikes against high-level gatherings of senior figures within Iran's military and security leadership. We can now confirm that these senior Iranian regime officials were eliminated by the IDF. Ali Khamenei, advisor to Khamenei on issues of defense and secretary of the Defense Council. Mohammad Pakpor, commander of the IRGC. Mohammad Shirazi, head of the military bureau of the Iranian Supreme Leader for almost 40 years. Salah Asadi, the senior intelligence officer of the Supreme Command. Aziz Nasirzadeh, the Iranian defense minister, and others. These and other senior figures will no longer be able to advance their plan, the destruction of Israel. These are terrorists who have blood on their hands, who are directly responsible for the death of thousands by terror. The launch of Operation Roaring Lion comes after months of close and joint planning with the U.S. Armed Forces. A historic, unprecedented level of cooperation between two nations fighting side by side against terror. Our mission could not be more clear. The IDF will continue to act to remove emerging threats against Israel, because the price of inaction is too high.
And I'm joined by Ambassador D.P. Srivastava, India's former ambassador to Iran. I'm also joined by Major General Raju Kochhar, Professor Swaran Singh from JNU. Veena Sikri will also join me, former Indian diplomat. Before I quickly go to Ambassador Srivastava, Professor Singh, I interrupted you, and I'm also joined by General Chauhan. Thank you so much, sir. Please complete your point. I had interrupted you 5 minutes ago, and you were talking about the resilience of the state. Can you unmute yourself?
I was saying the most significant or important challenge for Iranian regime right now is to ensure stability at home. And for that, they need to buy time. And while they are buying time, they are also looking at how Russia, China are going to react to this situation, whether they are going to take a more proactive approach. How is American internal domestic politics playing with regard to this attack on Iran. So fundamentally, that is why it's a controlled escalation, is what I'm saying. While they have, yes, continued to attack in various American bases in the region, which is, of course, the minimum expected from the leaders which are in control today in Tehran, given the fact that they have now confirmed Khamenei being killed, and we are watching the scale and swarm of masses that are out to mourn killing of Ali Khamenei versus those celebrating. I think that scale is very clearly visible to us as to on which side right now apparently Iranian nation stands. And looking at that, I think right now IRGC is the one which is in control, and there were some insinuations of some penetration of Americans into IRGC, which looks difficult. But if that is a possibility, then I think regime could collapse and bigger chaos could come about. Whether any American deployed leader will be able to resolve that crisis, that remains also enormous challenge, because the whole anti-American sentiment in Iran is fairly strong in that sense. Though I'm not approving of the slogans like "Death to America" or "Death to Israel," but that sentiment definitely is very strong among the Iranian nation. So if some of them don't like their own regime, I think their dislike for Americans and Israelis is relatively stronger, and which means that the regime led now not by Khamenei anymore, but by IRGC leadership, in which case state structure are relatively secondary now. So President Pezeshkian can be seen as more of a face of IRGC now in that sense, because that is what is controlling the situation now. And if IRGC is saying they are continuously attacking these various American bases in the region, that to me is still a controlled escalation. And therefore, in case they find a window of opportunity to stop and have ceasefire and go back to negotiations, I think that could be a pragmatic strategy of IRGC to buy time right now as they plan what they want to do.
Okay, I'm also joined by Ambassador Srivastav. Sir, you have served in Iran. On purpose, I'm playing two sets of visuals. One set of visuals have come where people are celebrating, they're on the streets. In another set, people are mourning. You know, it shows a very divided nation, or sort of different pictures emerging from Iran. But your opening comments first before you answer my question, that is it a deeply divided society now? Ambassador Srivastav.
Let me begin by pointing out, yes, thanks for having me on your program. Let me begin by saying that the Israeli and the American attack came at a time when the Omanese foreign minister, who was the mediator between Iran and US, had said that a peace deal was in hand. So there were low-cost options, low-cost, low-risk options, which were possible, which have been set aside. Now, the central question today, that after the strike, this will test the assumption on which the American and the Israeli strategy is based, that the assassination of an individual, Supreme Leader in this case, or some of his senior commanders, would bring people out in the street to overthrow the regime. As Professor Swaran Singh was pointing out, if you look at the scale of demonstrations, people mourning the Supreme Leader's death, as in some incidents of people celebrating isolated incidents, it's very clear where the Iranian sentiment is. The internal election change in government should come from internal evolution rather than military intervention from abroad.